It was a quiet Sunday morning in the Harrington mansion, a place so large that even the echoes had room to get lost. The walls gleamed with perfection, every corner smelled faintly of luxury, and everything, from the marble floors to the silk curtains, whispered money. But behind all that shine, the house often felt cold. Cold, because the man who owned it, Alexander Harrington, believed emotions were distractions. He was one of those people who measured life by success, not smiles. A billionaire by 40, respected by many, feared by most, but loved by few. That morning, Alexander was in his office, reviewing business contracts over a steaming cup of black coffee. His wife, Claire, was away on a charity trip, though if we're being honest, she was more of a social charity guest than an actual volunteer. The only sounds in the house were the soft humming of machines and the faint cooing of his 6-month-old son, Ethan, from the nursery upstairs. And then, there was Maria. Maria was the housekeeper. A quiet woman in her 50s, small and gentle, with kind eyes and hands that never rested. She had worked for the Harringtons for just over a year, and though she hardly spoke, she had a warmth about her that even the cold mansion couldn't hide. Every day, she would start before sunrise, polishing, cleaning, and preparing the house for the day, and yet, she always made time to check on baby Ethan. She'd talk to him softly, hum lullabies in Spanish, and rock him when he fussed. To her, Ethan wasn't just her employer's son. He was something more. Something precious. That morning, around 9 a.m., the silence of the house broke suddenly when Grace, the nanny, screamed. Alexander froze. He rushed up the grand staircase, his heart pounding, and found Grace standing at the nursery door, pale as a sheet. Inside, Maria was on the floor, unconscious. Ethan was crying in his crib, his tiny face red and tear-streaked. Alexander's world blurred for a moment. He ran to the crib to check on the baby. Ethan was fine, just scared. Then he turned to Maria. Her breathing was shallow. Her face was pale, almost gray. "Call an ambulance. Now," he barked. Within minutes, the house filled with the sound of sirens. Paramedics arrived, rushing Maria onto a stretcher. Alexander stood there, still in shock, holding his crying son. For the first time in years, he felt something unfamiliar, fear. Not the kind that comes from losing a business deal, but the kind that makes your hands tremble because you realize you might lose something, someone. At the hospital, Maria was rushed into emergency care. Alexander waited, pacing the halls. The doctor finally came out an hour later, his face serious. "She's stable now," he said, "but she's severely malnourished and dehydrated." "When was her last full meal?" Alexander blinked. Her last meal. I don't know. She works at our home. She eats there." The doctor frowned. "Then you might want to check what she's been eating. She's been skipping meals for a long time." Alexander was speechless. He thought of the huge dining hall at home, the endless food his chef prepared daily, the waste that went into the trash without a thought. And yet, the woman who cared for his home, and his son, had collapsed from hunger. Why? Later that evening, Maria regained consciousness. When Alexander walked into her hospital room, she looked startled, almost ashamed. "Mr. Harrington," she whispered weakly, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble. Is the baby okay?" Her first thought wasn't about herself. It was about Ethan. "He's fine," Alexander said softly. "You saved him, again." Maria smiled faintly. "Good, he's a sweet boy." Alexander hesitated. "The doctor said you collapsed from not eating properly. Why? Didn't you tell someone you were sick?" Maria looked down at her hands. They were thin and rough from years of scrubbing floors and washing dishes. "I didn't want to be a burden, sir," she said quietly. "I needed to keep working. My daughter's medicine is expensive." "Your daughter?" "Yes," she said, her eyes glistening. "She's 24. She has kidney failure. The hospital gives her dialysis twice a week, but it costs more than I make. So I stopped eating much, to save money for her." Alexander felt something twist inside him, guilt, sharp and cold. He, a man who could spend more on a watch than this woman earned in a year, hadn't even noticed her suffering. "How long have you been like this?" he asked. Maria gave a weak smile. "It's okay, sir. The Lord gives me strength. I just didn't expect to faint. I was holding Ethan, but I felt dizzy, so I put him down first." Her voice cracked, and for the first time in years, Alexander felt tears sting his own eyes. He went home that night, but the mansion didn't feel the same. Every polished surface seemed to reflect his own reflection, cold, distant, and guilty. He walked into the nursery. The soft light glowed over Ethan's sleeping face. On the rocking chair beside the crib was Maria's old shawl, faded but neatly folded. He picked it up. It smelled faintly of lavender soap and warmth. And that's when it hit him. This woman, who had almost nothing, had given his son more love and attention than he ever had. The next morning, Alexander did something no one expected. He drove to the hospital, not in his limousine, but in his old car, alone. He brought flowers, a small fruit basket, and a folder. Maria was sitting up in bed, reading a worn-out Bible. When she saw him, her eyes widened. "Mr. Harrington, you shouldn't have." He raised a hand gently. "Please, Maria, just call me Alexander." He handed her the folder. Inside were several documents. "What's this?" she asked. He smiled softly. "It's a contract. From now on, you're not my housekeeper, you're Ethan's nanny. Full-time. Double the salary. And," he hesitated, then continued, "I've already transferred funds to cover your daughter's medical treatment for the next year. She doesn't have to worry about anything." Maria froze. Her lips trembled, and tears streamed down her face. Why would you do this for me, sir?" she whispered. Alexander looked down, ashamed and moved at once. "Because you showed me something I forgot," he said quietly. "You reminded me what love looks like when it expects nothing in return." Months passed. Maria's daughter slowly recovered. The house became warmer, filled with laughter and light. Alexander changed too. He spent more time with his son, often joining Maria in the nursery. He started eating breakfast in the kitchen with her instead of alone in his office. Sometimes, they'd talk about life, her stories of struggle, his stories of loneliness. And he realized how empty his riches had been without kindness in them. One evening, about 6 months later, Alexander came home late. He tiptoed upstairs to peek into Ethan's room. The baby was asleep, clutching his tiny blanket, his chest rising and falling peacefully. Maria was in the rocking chair, quietly knitting. "Long day?" she asked, smiling. He nodded. "Yeah, but seeing this makes it all worth it." She chuckled softly. "You've changed, sir." Alexander smiled faintly. "You taught me too." He turned to leave but stopped. "Maria, I never asked, why were you always so kind to us? Even before I ever treated you kindly." Maria looked up, her eyes soft but full of something deeper. "Because kindness isn't something you give only to people who deserve it," she said. "It's something you give because the world needs more of it." A year later, a tragic storm swept through the city. Floods, power outages, chaos everywhere. The Harrington mansion lost power too. That night, a lightning strike set part of the roof on fire. The staff evacuated, but Alexander's first thought was, Ethan and Maria. He ran upstairs through the smoke, coughing, calling their names. Maria, Ethan. He found them in the nursery, Maria holding Ethan tightly, trying to cover him from the falling debris. "Go," she shouted. "Take him." Alexander rushed in, grabbed Ethan, and turned, but before Maria could follow, part of the ceiling collapsed between them. She was trapped. "Maria!" he screamed. But the fire spread too fast. By the time firefighters arrived, it was too late. Maria was gone. She had saved Ethan's life again. Weeks later, when the ashes settled, Alexander rebuilt the nursery exactly as it was. Same rocking chair, same shawl, same gentle light. On the wall, he framed a photo of Maria and Ethan together, her smiling, him giggling in her arms. Below it, he placed a small brass plaque with her words engraved. "Kindness isn't something you give only to people who deserve it. It's something you give because the world needs more of it." From that day on, Alexander changed everything about his life. He created a foundation in Maria's name, the Maria Hope Foundation, to support struggling families and single mothers. He spent his time not just earning, but giving. And every night, before putting Ethan to bed, he would whisper, "You were loved by an angel once." Her name was Maria. Moral: true wealth isn't measured by what we own, but by how much love and kindness we share.